and which has filled a large gap which we have been having in terms of care to be given to our patients, because there was a huge gap between Avastin and Lucentis. So we are going to talk about A, B, C, D till the Z about biosimilars, and we'll try to start as soon as possible. And I always try to conduct this session as a kind of industry plus clinician, because that's the way, when I was trained in United States, we used to have these sessions, because in this way we get a kind of a thinking from the industry that what exactly they think about it and what are their difficulties. And once we have that interaction, then it becomes a little more fruitful. So we have excellent faculty members here. Dr. Mangat Dogra sir, who does not need any introduction. He has been guru for all of us if we talk about retina. And Debdulal, he's from Disha Eye Hospital, means very, very high volume center. Satya Prakash sir, he's from Bihar, means he's part of this because he sees a different kind of crowd and patients, which really need a cost-effective therapy. Nilesh, one of my brightest students I ever had, so he's also there. So we'll start. Who is the first talk, Nilesh? Okay. So Nilesh will give you an overview about the biosimilars, just to understand that what exactly we are talking about here today. So, over to you, Nilesh.
I would like to thank Ashish sir for organizing this, conceptualizing this, and then executing it also. And we are first going to understand what the term biosimilars. What are these terms? Biologics, biosimilars, and biobetters. So these are my financial disclosures. These are our contribution. I have been fortunate enough to publish around 95 articles with Dr. Ashish Sharma, and these are around 25 articles based on biosimilars out of those. And this is the team that he has created. I am a small part of it. And this is a global team that called InterBios Group that is understanding what biosimilar is and how that landscape is changing. So what biosimilar is, what is the public perception? The public perception is similar. It's a cheap copy. What you see is Mohabbatein, and then what you see is a parody happening on Kapil Sharma show. So whenever you ask for biosimilar, they will tell it's a cheap copy of the originator. But is it something different? Actually, it is very different than our normal generic. It has similar basic structure. So the primary amino acid sequence is same. Apart from that, everything else is different. So what they do is take the innovator molecule, do a reverse engineering, get the amino acid sequence, and then they make the amino acid sequence. And after that, how the folding happens, secondary, tertiary structure, everything becomes different. But at the end, it has to have similar efficacy and similar safety. Just like Kapil Dev and MS Dhoni, both won the World Cup. They are very different personality, but the basic DNA is same to win it for India. So by definition, it is highly similar to approved biologic. It is very important that it has to be for approved biologic for that indication, notwithstanding minor differences in clinically inactive components having similar safety or efficacy or potency. There is no standard definition. This is the conclusion that we have got from all the approving bodies across the globe. So, if you see, Avastin is most commonly used anti-VEGF across the world. So, is Avastin a biologic or the innovator molecule for ophthalmology or not? It is being used as an off-label drug. So if any molecule that bevacizumab gets approved for biologic and it is not Avastin, it will become the innovator molecule and not Avastin. And if Avastin then applies to become approved for ophthalmic use, it will become a biosimilar. So it's very nuanced thing that innovator also can become biosimilar if it is not approved for the same indication. So how the biosimilars are manufactured? Once the patent expires, actually the process starts much earlier because there is an R&D of around 5-6 years. So before the patent is expiring, say it is expiring in 2030, so they will start the process in 2025. So after the patent expires, reverse engineering of the proprietary molecule takes place because no one will tell what is the basic amino acid sequence. So the basic amino acid sequence is then interpreted via spectroscopy and all, and then it is kept same. Then secondary, tertiary and the quaternary structure might be different. Site of action then has to be is similar to the innovator molecule. The cell line production can be different, and this is very important. What the cell line for the approved molecule was being used 20 years before, the technology has changed. So they might be using a better cell line for production, and a purification process also can be different. Probably it will be better because again the technology has evolved over last 20 to 30 years. So the preclinical analytical study to prove similarities to innovator is the major part of the trial. So the clinical part is very small. It just has to prove that the efficacy is similar over 8 to 12 weeks. But the preclinical analytical study with via mass spectroscopy and all the chemical analysis, it has to be very similar. Large number of pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic studies are done to do the same. And then a short clinical trial. So this is one conundrum that sir will be talking about. So across the globe, the clinical trial design is for equivalence because we are trying to prove equivalence. No clinical trial for biosimilar will have a superior efficacy defined. So it is within 12 weeks and then follow-up can be for 12 months. So receptor for all, there is also a regulation that if it is approved for one indication, it can be used for all other indication that the innovator is being approved for. It is up to the manufacturer to take individual approval for each and every indication. Say Razumab is taking it for RVO and then it is taking for ROP and all, but it is not necessary to be used because it is by default approved for all the innovator molecules, indication of innovator molecule. The pros, the apparent is price reduction. So what we get is a direct reduction in cost. The indirect benefit to the patient is that the disease burden is less. The patient at a cheaper cost getting the treatment, so they will have more socioeconomically productive. The inapparent is the wider availability. The innovator might not be reaching the grassroots, but these companies who are native to India, they will penetrate to each and every small districts and small centers. So a wider availability and the local pharmaceuticals will help everybody get the molecule. So is it all rosy? There is one very red flag that we need to see. When the antibiotic got started to being produced by the generic manufacturers, the innovation got out because everybody was now into the money game that just manufacture the generic and get the money in. And you have seen in last 10 to 12 years there has not been a single antibiotic that has been innovated. Why is it so? Because everybody was behind the generic and generating the money. So there is a possibility that after a few years we might see the stagnation in newer anti-VEGFs, and that is one thing that the industry has, that is our earnest appeal that the industry should keep working on it. So what is better? Bio better is what Dhoni is over Kapil Dev. Kapil Dev won ICC World Cup. Dhoni has won 3. So the same DNA structure, but it can have better efficacy because they are playing in a more nuanced area, more technically enhanced area. So BioBetter similarly will have something over the biologics. They can have better shelf life, better half-life, or better efficacy, or better safety. So who can benefit from biosimilars will be Abicipar, Pegol, and Brolucizumab. Brolucizumab because they are having more inflammation. So with BioBetter, they can have a better, they can become a BioBetter and better efficacy. So why not BioBetters? Because again, it will be a new application, and the R&D cost involved will be much more. So nobody is applying for BioBetters. BioBetters will come via the clinician feedback. It won't come by being approved by FDA or by DGCI. So thank you for your patient listening.
Thank you, Nilesh, for this excellent overview. May I know, because the reason for having this gathering and this IC is that we develop understanding about biosimilars, because there are a lot of misconception about these drugs. So amongst the clinicians anybody, who has any confusion in terms of, what exactly biosimilar means, and whether there is any risk in terms of safety, efficacy? If there is any questions, means we can answer it right here, because this was a talk about the understanding of biosimilar and biobeta. If we do not have any questions, then we can shift to the next talk, which is me.
Dr. Ashish Sharma sir will be talking about the regulatory aspects of the biosimilar development across the globe.
Hello. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. And I'm going to talk about an important part, which is regulatory and drug trial design of biosimilar, which is very, very different. And this is something, which causes sometimes a negative perception about these drugs. But we need to really see the nuances that why there is a truncated clinical trial design of biosimilars and why the regulatory defines it in a different way. So that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to touch upon India and the overseas both, so that we are on the same page. And before I proceed further, these are my disclosures. I consult for various biosimilar companies across the globe. And this is our contribution. We have been trying to understand various biosimilars and their various aspects in terms of efficacy, safety, phase 3 trial design, post-marketing data, and how they are governed in different countries. So these are some of our publications. And as Nilesh highlighted, this is our wonderful group, who have been guiding us since a long time on this. So regulatory process, how do you really define an innovator? We can talk about the brand Lucentis, because that is the only biosimilar at this point that we have. Multiple biosimilar ranibizumab molecules that we have. For example, Resumab. For example, Reniice, for example, Renizurel, different country, different companies, they manufacture it, and they are branded also by different companies. So I'm talking about the manufacturers here. So now if you really look at the design, what happens if an innovator molecule, Lucentis took approximately 12 months to 24 months of a trial, a big trial, which had approximately 500 patients or so. So big trial lasted for 12 months, 24 months. We are used to seeing those kind of trials. But suddenly a biosimilar comes, somebody comes and tells you the data of phase 3 trial, and you see that data. On that data, you would see that the primary outcome is assessed at 4 weeks, 8 weeks, or 12 weeks. As a retina specialist, you get worry about it. That these drugs, molecules are not very well tested. That's the safety aspect that you always worry, and it's a logical worry, because means you have been used to seeing that kind of data. But let me tell you why that happens. What happens, ultimately across the Europe, US, whenever biosimilars start, Europe is the most mature nation if you talk about biosimilars. If we again regulate them the same way the innovator is being regulated, the word biosimilar would not mean. So why this 4 weeks, 8 weeks, endpoints? I'll tell you, whenever you must have in your clinical practice experience, you give an injection, you give another injection second month, you give another injection third month. That is the majority of time you see the maximum effect of a drug. But after 3 months or 4 months, that's what we call as a loading dose, because you see that impact in 3 months. After that, the impact fades away. So what biosimilar trials they do is, these are all equivalence trial. They need to show that this drug works as good as in terms of efficacy and safety, especially efficacy, like an innovator drug. So equivalence can be tested only at those time points. You cannot test it at 6 months or 12 months, because then the behavior would differ. So the maximum impact on the visual acuity, on the central macular thickness, comes at 4 weeks and 8 weeks. That is the reason primary endpoints are at 4 to 8 weeks. But if you really look at the international trials of biosimilars, they also have primary endpoints in 8 weeks, 12 weeks. But their trial lasts for 12 months to test the safety. Safety is important. For that, you cannot truncate it, really narrow down. Because for safety, you need to keep checking how the entire antibody or anything builds up over the time. So the way it happens, the pharma industry is so sophisticated now. If you already have a molecule, you just map the primary structure, tertiary structure, and secondary structure. Once they are mapped, what you need to just ultimately do with the clinical trial, with a small clinical trial, just to see whether there's something really falling off which you could not detect on the basic parameters. So that's the reason that you have more of analytical data and very less of clinical trial. That's why the cost comes down. And cost coming down is an important aspect. And these trials, I would say, they are country specific, because this was the paper recently we published. We really gave an overview that how phase 3 clinical trial designs are in this country. Means, I really sincerely wish that DCGI, which is a authority which gives approval for all these drugs, they should really see into the deeper aspect of these all trial design when they approve it. Because all these trial designs are different. Means I do not really like, the randomization of 3:1. That means you have 75 of patients in one arm and like 25 patients in another arm, because the chances of losing out and not detecting something is more. So the way international trials they do is 1-to-1 randomization. Means 50% patients in the treatment in the innovator arm, 50% in the biosimilar. Then you get a better answer. So I hope as a society, we should convey this to DCGI, and they should really give a guide that there should be symmetry in all the designs. So if you see here, except lupin, everybody has 3:1 or 2:1 kind of randomization here. This is US. You see the total study duration, 12 months, which I like, because that way safety is much better defined. You see all the Indian trials, 3 months, 6 months, curtailed down. So I think if we become a little mature, we would have a much better safety profile. Why there is a difference in this? I already explained this, that why there is a truncated design because of the equivalence kind of design. Are Indian molecules inferior? No, they are not. Ultimately, real-world data is something which drives up. So if you really look now, we have plethora of real-world data with companies like Resumab. Resumab has the highest real-world data, and we are going to publish even the Renia's data also with 500 eyes, real-world data, which is an important key data for all these molecules. Both the companies, they have their global trials. If you see, Indian trials are truncated, but as EMA and FDA, they require their sample size of 600 patients with 12 months of treatment. So they have to go through that kind of trial data. So both the companies, Indian companies, they are filing for FDA and EMA as well. So there the number and size is a little large. This I have already explained to you, that should we have a longer trial? I wish. It doesn't matter, you just take 3 and 6 more months for our patient safety. So I think that, so what has happened, what biosimilars have done? This is the survey. I lead a group, international group called International Retina Biosimilar Study Group. We have done a survey of perception about these biosimilars of all the Vitreoretinal Society members. So what we found is, what do you think about clinical trials in India? People do not believe. As I said, they think that they are of very short duration. So only one trial and approval for all indications. Nilesh has touched upon this, because receptors are same. If innovator molecule like Lucentis have shown any kind of safety issues with AMD, RVO, DME, then that makes sense that you go for different trials. But Lucentis never showed that. That's why only one trial is fine. There is a future possibility. UK has, slashed off the need of phase 3 clinical trial for biosimilars. Not in really ophthalmology, for other areas. But whether that would happen in ophthalmology, we would see. But less likely, because eye is quite a sensitive organ there. So experience from Europe is quite healthy, and till now, since 2006, there's no biosimilar which is being withdrawn. So overall, education, and awareness about biosimilars, which is required, because these are the molecules which have structural similarity with a molecule which has already shown the track record, safety track record. So novel assets could be unpredictable, like brolucizumab, but these are predominantly safe. So if we believe them, if we understand them well, I'm sure many lives can become better with biosimilars, and that is happening. that is happening now because the trend has changed. Major proportion of all the practices in India are using biosimilar, and the innovator molecule has shrunk down to less than 25%. So thank you so very much for being here. We can take questions later probably with industry and all our clinician in between if you have any questions. Now I would invite Dr. Mangat, who is a guru for all of us, and he has been using biosimilars in his practice since pretty long time, and he would enlighten us with his talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ashish, for the invitation. Okay, my presentation.
Can we have sir's slide? In between, if anybody has any questions about, because we have as of now 3 manufacturers, rather 4 manufacturers of biosimilar ranibizumab molecules. One is Intas, which was launched in 2015 or 16. So are we having sir's presentation up? Okay. So which is the, which has a maximum real world data, and then we have Renize, which is an original manufacturer from Lupin, and then we have Reliance molecule called Renizurel. So these, and recently another company, Enzene Biotech, came up with an Optimap that is again originator, means the original company which manufactures it. Rest, all the molecules that you come to know and that you hear in your clinic, they are all marketed by different companies. Like Vizumab is marketed by Cipla. Okay, so they take from the companies which manufactures it. So we should be very clear about it, who is manufacturers and who is a marketing person. This is not something which is happening only in India. If you really look at US, right now US has 2 major molecules. One is Cimerli, and another Cimerli is known in Europe, UK with different names. In UK, it is known as Ongavia. In Europe, it is known as Renivizio. So it's basically the company which is taking the marketing right. That's how it is defined. So there are a lot of companies now, they are coming up with aflibercept biosimilar as well. I think sir is waiting for a long time. Please. Huh? Yes. Yeah, you can use them. You can use them because ultimately what happens, the only thing is that you really need to see the real world data and their trial data. And you should be asking this question upfront. Who has manufactured this molecule? Right? And please give me the trial data, phase 3 data. Means I would say you will see many more molecules coming in, and you should be really careful whenever something comes new. Because anything, whether it's a biosimilar molecule or whether it's an innovator molecule, anything which comes new, we are dealing with monoclonal antibodies. And monoclonal antibodies can be immunogenic at any day if anything goes wrong. What is happening in India is sometimes people are thinking that, we are dealing with something like generics. Generics means paracetamol, you have 10 companies making paracetamol. But, okay, now we'll discuss it later, yeah. Thank you. Sorry for that, sir.
Dr. Ashish, again, I think something which is very important for us, and as already mentioned by Ashish and Nilesh, I think somehow as far as biosimilars in ophthalmology are concerned, India is a leader. So that's a great thing for us, and these are my financial disclosure. I think already these things have been talked, that these are mostly the 3 molecules which we have, Razumab being the first one right from 2015, and then came the Renize and Ranizuril. So, and we going to have aflibercept biosimilars. I think they'll finish, they're already on trial, but they can't have it before 25, 26, so we're going to have more of them. So that is what is going to happen. I think this also again already emphasized and talked by Ashish about the trial, the limited numbers, as well as the period for which we study. But that is the way it is, and maybe that's how perhaps in the beginning we did have some safety issues, and so I think we have to learn that. I think what my interest here with you is to present some real world data, especially, of course, there's you're going to have a lot of that from Dr. Devulal also here. And I think once we look at the Razumab, Intas, this biosimilar, this has been there almost now I would say 9-10 years. And the reliance, of course, came in 2020. And the Lupin one, Reni is in 2021. And of course, all of them, they have some kind of a real world data, but limited. But I think most of the work here again has been done by Dr. Ashish and his team. And I think this is a dated data. Now the total number of injections have gone up. And I think so is for Razumab. I think the numbers have gone up. And I think I must mention here, I think Manish is here. I think I used to be heading the retina in PGI Chandigarh, as well as retired from there. I wouldn't let it in. We didn't let it in because it would develop problem, safety issue. And it started much later. Can you imagine, 15 it was introduced, and it ultimately started somewhere in 20. And where I work, I'll show you, it started in 2021. And that was the takeoff point, because before that, I think safety issues that's how you have to build a confidence. I keep getting all these rainy eyes, right? They have to build our confidence. I tell them that show me that somebody has really had I'm not concerned. They are all efficacious probably. The safety issue should not be coming. I think that is what the point was very well taken up by Dr. Ashish. I think this survey is very important by the Vitreoretinal Society of India. So most of the people are familiar with, and there was a progressive trend favoring use of, you see, we only have ranibizumab biosimilar over Biosimilars, and need for enhanced, you see, that is what, and larger trials, as well as, of course, more stringent regulatory control. Somehow, I think the pricing and other things and financial aspects is also being talked by Dr. Tiwari subsequently here. What I want to share here is, this is one young, now I have retired from the institution where I was. So you can see now, most of the anti-VEGFs in a month, they are Razumab. And this is my center, which took only in October 21, where I work now after retirement. You can see now the Razumab has become a leader. So that's where it is gone. And this is just, I'm showing how efficacious it is. No problem. More patients are coming in, more patients are enrolled, and we have a very good efficacy. I think in summary, I would say, from a slower adoption to a market leader. That is the way it is. Because I already talked about slow adoption, how we adopted slowly. But now, at least I can say, we have so much confidence on this molecule that we are using it for ROP. You know, this is approved for ROP. And under that Janani Suraksha Yojana, that subject has been the most close to my heart all my life. It is provided free by the government. And it is being used. I have told most of them to generate their own data and come out, and so that we have more confidence, and we can definitely say that this is something which can be very, very safely used. And of course, I think we have more and more patients now being treated. They can afford our treatment, and because it requires multiple injections, and that is what is happening with all the biosimilars. So I think it's an exciting time as far as biosimilars in India are concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mangal, for highlighting it so well. And next, Dr. Satyaprakash Tiwari means, as I already mentioned, he practices in Bihar, so he deals with a lot of financially compromised patients, so that's where it makes a lot of difference. So once he finishes, then probably we will have some time to interact.
Thank you so much. Sir, for including me in this instruction course. It is really nice to be here among you all. And I was listening to the talk of Mangat Dogra sir, that biosimilar have really now they have traveled such a long journey, and our own confidence have built up so much that we are now no longer hesitant in using in any of the indications. And in this ROP also recently phase 4 trial of Rajumab was done, and our center was also a part, and we recruited 9 patients. And before that also we are using these biosimilars, and touchwood, fortunately we are not facing any safety issue in any of the cases. So biologics, what is biologics and biosimilar and definition, it has already been discussed by Dr. Nilesh, so I'm not going into the details. So what biologics imparts on the finances of any country, be it developed world, European countries or America or Indian countries, or a relatively developed part of our own country and relatively underdeveloped or undeveloped part of the country. Since all these biologics which are being used in ophthalmic disorders, since we have a huge population load and the diseases are becoming more and more common, like diabetic retinopathy, age-related macular degeneration, and for that matter even ROP is also picking up very fast due to all these artificially assisted delivery techniques. We are getting more and more preterm babies. So again, see, these preterm babies, they spend a lot on that reproductive technique. That baby is born preterm and that goes into an ICU and then spend lakhs of rupees to save that baby, and after that baby develops this ROP. And if again the cost of ROP treatment is very high, then we are going to lose many babies visually. So that is very important part, that whatever here we are dealing with such a kind of population, diverse population, that we need a large number of biological molecules which can support our patients, and cost is one of the biggest factor to cater all our population. Biosimilars are cost effective, definitely. In majority of the cases the cost has come down to 25 to 50%, and recently even there is much more cost drop in biosimilars due to market competition, and that is actually very good for all our patients and as a clinician, because if we offer similar efficacy molecule at a lower cost, then our patient is going to afford that treatment, and they will be more likely to accept the treatment, and the success of the treatment and visual rehabilitation will be much better if the cost drops down. Even in USA also, all the top selling drugs are now biologics, be it in ophthalmology or otherwise in rheumatology or other diseases. Biologics, even in oncology, biologics are coming up with a huge role. And in other than ophthalmology, majority of the imported molecules which were available in India for the treatment of rheumatology and all, in many of the molecule only biosimilar is available in India, and no longer the original innovator is being available or marketed. So why do we need biosimilars or at lower cost? Because our population, majority of the people are not going to afford a high cost treatment. We can take a lesson from this PDT, Visudyne dye also, because PDT, although in CNVM, this classic CNVM or AMD was not as effective as anti-VEGF, but recalcitrant cases of IPCV or in CSR, it was quite a good drug, but the cost was very high. It was not being marketed. It became an orphan drug, and then slowly it was out of the market, and now we are not getting that drug also for some of the indications like this CSR, which are not responding or not resolving, and we are facing difficulties. Suppose some of other company would have manufactured or marketed some generic or biosimilar or whatever, then this drug could also have survived and would have given us a lot of treatment opportunity to uncatered patient. So at the treatment cost, many a times in India, what our patients, majority of them are paying from their own pockets. Now the government is also supporting them by doing this low cost insurance like Ayushman Bharat, or different state governments are supporting. But the treatment cost limit is lower in those cases. So if the drug is very high cost and if the patient needs repeated injection, then they will exhaust their limit of treatment. So bringing down the cost of the drug, then these drugs can easily be incorporated in that those low socio-economic insurance schemes of government also, and those patients can also be supported and they can be benefited by giving treatment through these low-cost biosimilars. So selection of anti-VEGF process, I won't go into that, but all these, as sir was saying, that global coalition and regulators also have voiced their confidence in safety and efficacy of biosimilars. And one thing I would like to share my experience that yes, nowadays that longer trials are also coming up. In lupins, this global trial, we were the part, and the treatment recruitment, that patient recruitment part went for over a year, and every patient received 12 injections for more than 1 year. This trial, I think last patient we just concluded recently. So this was a huge data from a single center point of view also, since we followed all of our patients and we injected them 12 injections, and there was no reactions or untoward event happened in any of the patients. So that also imparted confidence to our thing also. So as Nilesh was pointing out, that if biosimilars come and treatment cost goes down, then development of new drug hampers. But in other ways, sometimes it stimulates also, because Lucentis was being marketed by Novartis, then came Rajumab, and when the Novartis found that this market is going to become competitive, then they focused on development of new drugs. So that competition from innovator and biosimilar actually encouraged them to go for a new research and launch some new or more effective drug. So that will definitely going to give a positive impact also on treatment options. Changing the treatment line. If a drug is very costly, then we may not offer many patient intravitreal injection like CSME. We were giving focal laser treatment to any of the cases, like suppose if we can manage with focal laser, we used to intend to do focal laser in the era when Lucentis was costing 50,000, 60,000. But once that cost of the treatment dropped down, then now the first line treatment of DME is already being anti-VEGF. And focal laser is just used as an adjunct treatment, or if non-responders or otherwise if we see some leaking focal microaneurysm. So it has changed the treatment guideline also, just by dropping down the cost of the treatment. Cost saving can make all this treatment available to far and remote areas also. If a drug is very costly, then a small practitioner sitting in a tier 2 or tier 3 city will be hesitant to offer that treatment to patient, because if he is injecting 1 lakh treatment, giving an injection, and if the response is not good, then it will be difficult for him to answer the patient. But if the same treatment is low cost, then he will be more encouraged to offer that treatment to patient, and he can try, and even counseling the patient for repeated injection would be very easy. Otherwise, 1 lakh treatment every month, it will be very difficult to offer to any physician or by any ophthalmologist to patient, asking them to take injection every month, and that is very costly. So that way, this biosimilar and reducing cost of the treatment has changed the whole ophthalmic practice of this medical retina and anti-VEGF drugs. It has increased the number of healthcare professionals who can provide the medical retina treatment. It has dropped down the cost, and many smaller town colleagues have started using anti-VEGF. Cost effectiveness, definitely it is going to reduce the cost effectiveness and reimbursement. Now majority of the TPA companies are also encouraged. Since the cost is down, they are easy to give approval. Otherwise, in initial days, they used to reject or give some excuses, or that cost limit it used to hamper. But nowadays, TPAs are also supporting the patient, and the treatment is becoming very easy for the patient. So by that way, these biosimilars and reducing cost has affected this whole practice, treatment, the outcome, and a number of the patients scattered. And I think these biosimilars have helped as a retina surgeon to all of us in a big way. Thank you so much for all your listeners.
Thank you, Dr. Tiwari, for insightful talk about financial. May I know in this hall how many clinicians are using biosimilars? If I can have a beautiful, just look at that. Look at that. Means this shows, what kind of practice we are in now. And people who are not using biosimilars, can I have a raise of hands who are not using biosimilars? So may I know, means, is there any hesitation of using for using biosimilars? 5, and this would cost approximately 10 to 15 or whatever. Then you need to have a solid answer to talk to the patient. You cannot, unless a clinician is clear, you cannot convince your patient to go ahead with that treatment. So as he rightly said, that he has a simple answer: this drug and this drug has similar safety and efficacy. One is made in America, one is made in India. So made in India things are much cheaper. So in this way, a patient gets a real clear cut answer, and he relates to the things, in made in India things are cheaper. So that's fine.
Yeah.
So this is his way. Yes, Nilesh, you have a point.
So it has been a year since I have stopped prescribing Lucentis to any patient of mine. My prescription directly goes, it's either Razumab or Raniaz, because these two I am using. So I have stopped giving, because this is the answer, because I believe in the drug, it is giving the similar safety and efficacy. Then why to prescribe a high cost drug to that patient? So either I give them option of Razumab, Raniaz, or if you want to go higher, you go for Eylea. But nothing.
That's again a very important point. You already have a cost-effective alternative of ranibizumab. Then why to really go for an innovative molecule if you really believe that biosimilar ranibizumab would do the same? Now, Devdulal, Devdulal works in a really high volume center, really high volume center. So I think he would also tell us that what kind of pricing you do it. Now, first you can answer probably from here.
Okay. Thank you, Ashish, for having me here, and it's a pleasure listening to you and reading all your stuff, and from which I learn a lot. So at Disha, it's very simple for us. Biosimilars are the first choice for a patient, for any patient. Of course, we offer a basket, and somebody walking in with golden watches and in a Mercedes-Benz can afford anything. But for the routine rank and file, the biosimilars, we use only ranibizumab biosimilars as of now. We've stopped using the others, and we have two options. We have patients who want the vial. We use Razumab. Mostly we use Razumab. I'll be giving you some data. So we use Razumab at 12,500 rupees, and so also Raniaz, which we have just begun using. And we also have a shared use strategy. So what is a shared use strategy? So from 3 Razumab vials or maybe 3 Raniaz vials, you can jolly well give another patient another injection. You can pull in and give it to another patient. So if you are in a shared bracket, then it is 8,500 rupees to the patient, and otherwise it is 12,500. If you want the box and the vial, it's 12,500 to the patient. And for eccentrics, it is 21,000. Now what I have been doing of late is, maybe for last couple of years, is that I straight away tell there's absolutely no difference, like Nilesh mentioned, that there's absolutely no difference between these two drugs, and you can take the Indian drug. Because I can stick out my head and say that it is equally efficacious and equally safe. So that's something that we tell our patients.
Dr. Mangat.
One of the things which we could never do and is very important, and we forget, and we were just giving one injection. If it is flat, we are waiting, and then the next injection is given. And how much harm was done? The patient was never off these injections. The duration was never, and he was always suboptimally treated. So early intensive treatment, especially for a diabetic, which I believe today, many of them, those who have that edema there, it is going down, you give 6 injections of Razumab. You will subsequently sometime not even need injection, or need after 4 months or 6 months. That is the way, and you will give much better vision. So the question here is, who would agree with other molecules for if I have to give even 3 injections, but I'm talking here 6, because most of the trials say 6 injections. That is the way. Where do we treat according to the trial? Many a time we are harming our patient, and that's why they are never off. They always require, even what we are doing with the newer molecules, say Paginex, as well as Vibrismo. We'll give 1 injection, wait for 3 months. because we want it to come back. But I think we will harm them more. We'll never reach that 80% free kind of thing. So I think what has happened is that has first time given me, I was from a public hospital where I had hardly a patient whom I could even give 3 injections of many of these expensive drugs. We were mostly on Avastin, and which in fact the whole epidemic occurred of infection when I was there heading the department, and it's not used now. But the question is, here you have a full confidence, you have a molecule, you can consult the patient in the beginning. As already been said, the pricing is in that range. You tell even a patient, whosoever, he would afford that kind of treatment, because he knows that subsequently his injections are going to be much less, as well as he is going to do much better. So keep that in mind, and that is also very important as far as biosimilars are concerned. We can use them because they being very cost effective and equally efficacious, and safety wise we have no concern. So I have a lot of these patients, those who have been given early intensive treatment, what has been talked in protocol, rather than PRN. PRN business is mostly out. I think that's not the way we should treat.
Thank you, I think, Debdullah. So very well highlighted, I think, couple of points. Dr. Mangat Dogra has really highlighted the role of early intensive treatment, which we were not able to do when we, when we were treating with these high-cost molecules. So that's something which is being changed now. So this is a very point well taken. And Debdullah has highlighted, that's how he counsels. So I think overall, counseling-wise, we just tell them that, this is the molecule, so you don't need to really talk about the innovator molecule. Shift to another molecule, a better molecule. So Debdullah, I think this is the final talk, and after that we will have some interaction with the industry. We'll have 5 minutes, I think, after that. Thank you, Debdullah.
Thank you, Dr. Ashish, once again, and I'll be speaking on real-world experience.
And I must say, he has contributed phenomenal real-world data about biosimilars.
Thank you. So have you opened our eyes with biosimilars. And these are my disclosures. So basically we'll be talking about need for biosimilar anti-VEGFs, safety of biosimilar anti-VEGFs, and efficacy of biosimilar anti-VEGFs, all of which have been covered. And this is kind of a re-emphasizing, talk that will, justify and sort of, influence us even more towards biosimilars. So one thing that we all know and for certain and sure is that anti-VEGFs are necessary, and anti-VEGFs have actually changed the outcome of retinal vascular diseases, and we have retinal blindness arising out of retinal vascular disease coming down when it comes to the post anti-VEGF period as opposed to the pre anti-VEGF period. Now, treatment with the innovator molecule has always been expensive, and even now with the price reduction and the price wars going on, because thanks to the biosimilars coming in, you cannot really entirely bank on the innovator molecule, because after a period of time there's patient fatigue with the pricing, and you have to have something that is lesser expensive or not expensive, and this enables continuation of therapy, leading to better outcomes as far as clinical outcomes go. Leave aside India, if you look at larger studies, Luminous studies and studies like, them, there also, if you look at the data, you see that, less than half of these patients actually take, 4 injections. And if you count 5 injections, that's 60%. With 5 injections, what do you get? Not much, because in order to drive visual gains in DME, like sir was mentioning, you need around 6-7 injections, or maybe 7 to 8 injections. 7 to 8 injections of an innovator molecule, my God, many of us would think twice in taking those injections. And if it is DME, then it's both eyes. 7 plus 7 is 14. So 14 injections in a year, and calculate the price. At Disha it is 21,000 for the innovator ranibizumab. For aflibercept it is 52,000. Of course it comes with a program, but just calculate what's the price involved here. What about NAMD? Similar, 6 injections plus for one eye. These are all more often than not bilateral diseases that we are looking at, or at least are going to be bilateral in some point in time. So where does the patient stand? And these are patients who are elderly mostly, or maybe at least 50 plus or thereabouts, and so they have other comorbidities. Is eye the only thing they are going to treat? No, definitely not. So let's save them some money, do some service, and feel proud to be Indians that we are in the forefront of the biosimilar revolution. So if you look at the unmet needs, like Dr. Satya Prakash just mentioned, so he comes from, like Dr. Ashish mentioned, from a place where non-affordability is one of the biggest issues. Non-affordability is an issue not only in Bihar or Jharkhand, it's an issue everywhere, even in the United States. That is why they are looking into biosimilars. Otherwise, they would have kept their mouth shut and went on with, would have gone on with innovator molecules. So what actually, biosimilars, I would like to quote my friend Dr. Ashish here, biosimilars hold the potential to reduce financial burden of highly efficacious biologic therapy in retinal pathology. And, adding to what he has said, just like, one of our friends have mentioned here, that, there's a nocebo perception, widely popular perception that these are generics. These are not generics. So you can jolly well use them with the same amount of efficacy and safety. So to dispel doubts, let's check on the safety in real world as far as, biosimilar ranibizumab is concerned. Just to give you some data, experience with biosimilars in biosimilar ranibizumab in Disha Eye hospitals, we started off in 2015. Initially, we had a few hiccups. Those were sorted out. And till date, we have used, actually, this is, a couple of months back data. We've used more than 35,000 vials of Razumab. We've used around 800 vials of Rani-Eyes, which have started just a little while back. So, it has been very, very efficacious and very, very safe, and we don't have any issues, advising biosimilar ranibizumab. So let's check out the safety of biosimilar Razumab, because that's what we have the maximum data on. So this is a unique study which we published a couple of years back, and this is, look at the number of, injections. 9406 Razumab injections were performed in 6404 eyes, and we looked into the safety aspect, and this was really astounding that we didn't really have any major safety issues. If you look at the endophthalmitis rate, it is 0.01%. No IOI other than, these endophthalmitis cases, and 97% of these reactions that were seen were just like subconjunctival hemorrhage and some watering, tearing, pain, etc., which are basically non-serious kind of stuff. So in the real world setting, take my word, Razumab is safe, and not my word, it's the data which is speaking. We did not do an immunogenicity, testing with Razumab, but this was done by Dr. Sharma et al. So no alarming immunogenicity signals were noted. What about, others? Say, Lalit Verma sir, what he mentioned in the CSER study, Razumab was noted to be safe and effective in short term in RVO, DME, and AMD. So, we would like to share our experience in DME. So this was a comparison between the innovator and the biosimilar ranibizumab. Here, the biosimilar being Razumab. So if you look, similar kind of improvement as far as vision was concerned in both the groups, innovator and the biosimilar ranibizumab, that is Razumab. And, there was no statistical significant difference between the two at, final follow-up. If you look at the CMT values, again, it's the same story, equally effective as far as, the CMT values goes. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there? So, means when I was talking about the trial on the regulatory aspect, I think this we mentioned the last year as well. So just look at the curve. Just look at the curve from baseline 1 month and 3 months. That's where you have the maximum impact of biosimilar by 0, 1, 2 injection. So that's the reason that these trials, they have time points and primary efficacy outcome at in between somewhere 1 month to 3 months. After that, if you see, these both are going quite parallelly. So you really cannot detect the equivalence. So that's the reason that you have shorter kind of, time points. So do not disbelieve just based on that the time points are a little shorter in these trials, but safety is being tested till, quite some time. So sorry to interrupt you.
No, please. So next we'll talk about the BALANCE trial, which we published just around 8-9 months back. So this is on neovascular AMD, and we compared again the innovator molecule versus biosimilar Resumab here actually. So if you look at the baseline visual acuity, it was similar, and just after 3 months again you have a similar kind of a improvement, and it is stable till the end of 12 months. So no difference as far as visual acuity is concerned, no difference as far as the central macular thickness improvement is concerned. So you can use Resumab with impunity, and these are safe. So we also checked into intraretinal fluid and SRF levels in both the groups, and these were similar and showed similar improvement. The required number of doses of the Resumab injection and of the innovator were also similar. So you don't need to inject more if you use a biosimilar. That's also very important in the message to put across to the patient. And of course, adverse events were not noted in this study, which were significant enough, and it was similar for both the groups. So, in NAMD, biosimilar ranibizumab is equally good as the innovator molecule. So, I'd like to thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Debdulal, for enlightening. So overall means to conclude, as of now, you have highest real-world data from Resumab, and over the time, we have developed a great real-world experience with ReniEyes as well. It means I am taking a lead of one of the real-world data where we have analyzed around 500 injection data. It is with the International Retina Biosimilar Group, which is under review. So these are two molecules where we have developed significant real-world experience, which was the important takeaway from VRSI survey, that all these molecules, you should definitely see the real-world data. So my suggestion is, whenever any new molecule, you would be seeing some more companies bringing in biosimilar molecules. Please do not jump into the usage immediately, even if the price is offered at the rock bottom floor, because you never know, where things go wrong. So always go slow, whether it's an innovator or biosimilar. So I think that is my takeaway. And industries here, if you guys from Intas, from Lupin, and from Cipla, can I have one question or comment from all of you? Yeah, please, madam, please.
These biosimilars in the ROP babies. So I would like to say the confirmation from you that it is safe enough to go ahead with it.
I would absolutely vouch for it, although I'm not in the institute now, but I have two of my, those who were trained with me, Dr. Diksha and Simar. I think they have given in hundreds. They are only giving Resumab because it is approved and it is available free from the Janani Suraksha Yojana, and they have no issue with the safety, and the efficacy is similar. So this is, they use with full confidence, and it has been used in, I have already told them to come out with the real world data, and they must collate everything and publish, because in ROP, I think if it is safe for a premature child, so you can imagine others can use it very safely. So that is what is.
So in this ground, can I ask you, what about the role of Bevacizumab in ROP along with these biosimilars? Like it.
No, that is different. That because we know that, but the problem with the Bevacizumab is always off-label and chances of infection. Those are the issues which we always face. Otherwise, definitely, I think Bevacizumab does score as far as the for ROP.
So, and another point, we had an issue in our hospital. We had ordered for ReniEyes. The supply was for ReniEyes. Then this Resumab came in, and they gave a thing like, why do got for ReniEyes? It is for Resumab, which is indicated for 5, and you have not taken it. So I was really confused, like why they are saying that, because only point they pointed out that ReniEyes is not given in ROP.
So I'll answer this. So basically, as of now, we need to be very clear that what is indicated and what is officially approved for what indication. So Resumab at this point has approval for all the indication. That includes ROP as well. So even if something happens with Resumab, you are legally protected because you have used as an official drug. Lupin, I think, correct me, the industry people, who are here, they have applied for ROP and PDR as of now, but approval has not yet been received. So as of now, you can hold on till they get approval. And I think Renizorel from Reliance has approved officially for neovascular AMD alone. If I'm right, if some representative here, they can correct me if I'm wrong. So I think that confusion is because of that. Probably INTAS people might be saying, we are officially approved in ROP, so use us in ROP. As of now, I would also say, to be legally right, you can use Resomib in ROP and wait for Lupin to get approval for those two indications.
If you're using Biosimilars in ROP, it would be wrong. We are not having any problems so far.
No, I think that's what. We only have a data from the studies, so you have to be, on that front you are fine. If you use it and you have to show that data, but in case there are issues, safety issues which we always encounter, and that is what we have seen maximum number of cases, then it's a problem. Another thing which I want to add, what Dr. Ashish already emphasized, I think Janni Shuraksha Yojana is by the government. They have only approved Razumab because of this approval. So I think once it is approved by the government, you will be very safe because it is being used provided by the government itself. So that is the way it works.
In fact, for the safety point of biosimilar in ROP, I would say that we had recently phase 4 trial of ROP and we recruited 9 patients, and the study protocol of that study allowed repeat injection in ROP also, which generally we are not following in our private patient, but in study we injected 3 patients repeat injection, and even after repeat injection there was no issue. So it is absolutely safe and we are confident
Thank you, Dr.
about
Satyaprakash.
this.
I think in the interest of time, if any industry person has any question, comments, quick comment, last minute. Yeah, please.
My name is Dr. Sharma. I'm representing from Supra. Now, my question to all the people who are retina specialists, specifically, I wanted to understand that as an inter-BIOS organization, aren't you looking at doing a pharmacoeconomic analysis, okay, of all the biosimilars, vis-a-vis comparison with biologics, and thereby looking into the duration when you're talking about an intensive or a fast, when we talk about that initial intensive course, and thereby looking into the quality of life parameters.
So you mean quali and the
Yes.
pharmaco
Yes.
financial, we would do that. Point well taken. Thank you very much.
so
I think next set of people are waiting here. Thank you so much, and thank you all the faculty members for this. Can we have a quick photograph?
Can we have a snap, sir? A group photo.